Chosen one. There are moments in life when everything changes silently. No loud announcement, no warning, just a shift in the spiritual atmosphere around your life. And this message is one of those moments. Because what you have been praying for, crying for, waiting for in silence, is finally moving toward you. You did not find this message by accident. Something divine guided you here. And before this message ends, you are going to understand why your pain had to last so long, why the doors stayed closed, why people walked away, and why heaven allowed you to feel delayed while everyone else seemed to move ahead. Because chosen one, your wait is officially over. There is a blessing with your name on it, a breakthrough with your name on it, a miracle that has already been released in the spiritual realm, and it is getting closer to your life every single day. But first, you need to understand something most people never realize. The reason your journey has been harder than others is because your calling is greater than others. Average people do not go through spiritual warfare the way you did. Ordinary souls are not tested at the level you were tested. The enemy only attacks what carries power, and from the beginning, your spirit carried something different, something rare, something heaven marked before you were even born. That is why people misunderstood you. That is why betrayal followed you. That is why you felt isolated even in rooms full of people. Because your spirit never belonged to ordinary places. You were chosen for something bigger, and the moment you finally understand that, everything begins to make sense. Chosen one. There were nights when you cried silently and nobody knew. Moments when you smiled in front of others while your heart was breaking inside. Times when you asked heaven, "Why is this happening to me?" You kept trying, kept believing, kept praying, but it felt like nothing was changing. Meanwhile, people who hurt others seemed to succeed. People who betrayed you looked happy, and you began questioning your own worth. But listen carefully. Delay is not denial and spiritual. Preparation often looks like punishment before the blessing arrives. Heaven was not ignoring you. Heaven was building you. Because the blessing coming into your life now requires a stronger version of you. The old version of you could not carry what is about to arrive. That version was too attached to people, too dependent on approval, too afraid to walk alone. But now you are different. Now you have survived things that should have destroyed you. Now you have learned how to stand in pain without giving up. Now you know how to hear God even in silence. And that transformation is the reason your breakthrough is finally here. Chosen one. The spiritual atmosphere around your life is changing. You can feel it, even if you cannot explain it. Something inside you knows a new season is beginning. The heaviness is lifting, the confusion is fading, and suddenly, opportunities are going to appear where there was once blockage, because heaven has already started removing obstacles from your path. The delay is ending. The waiting season is ending. The season of tears is ending. And what comes next will shock everyone who doubted you, especially the people who thought you would never recover, especially the people who secretly enjoyed watching you struggle, especially the ones who abandoned you during your hardest moments. Because the same person they ignored is about to rise in a way nobody expected. Chosen one. Your story was never meant to end in defeat. Your story was always meant to become proof that miracles still happen. And that is why the attacks became stronger right before this breakthrough. Because, spiritually, the enemy senses what is coming before you do. That sudden exhaustion you felt, that random sadness, that pressure that seemed to come from nowhere. It was not random. It was resistance. Because something powerful is trying to enter your life. And darkness always trembles before divine elevation. But hear this clearly. What is meant for you cannot be blocked anymore. Nobody can stop this blessing. Nobody can delay this miracle. Nobody can close a door that heaven has already opened. Chosen one. There is someone listening right now who almost gave up recently. You were tired, mentally exhausted, emotionally drained. You kept asking yourself how much longer you could continue carrying this pain. And secretly, you wondered if your prayers were even being heard. But this message is your confirmation. Heaven heard every tear, every silent prayer, every lonely night, every moment you almost broke. None of it was ignored. In fact, your pain became the foundation for the next chapter of your life. Because the people who carry the greatest light often walk through the darkest valleys before they rise. And now your rising season has begun. Watch carefully what happens next in your life. People who disappeared will suddenly try to return. Doors that stayed closed for years will suddenly open. Unexpected opportunities will begin finding you. Favor will start following you in unusual ways. And the craziest part, you will realize it all started the moment you stopped chasing what was not meant for you. Chosen one. One of the hardest lessons heaven had to teach you was detachment. You kept holding on to people who were never assigned to your destiny. You kept begging for love from people who could not even recognize your value. You kept trying to save relationships that were already spiritually expired. And every time heaven tried removing those people, you resisted because your heart was too loyal. But now you finally understand. Some people were distractions. Some people were delays. Some people were lessons disguised as blessings. And the moment they left, your path became clearer. Because not everyone can go where you are going. The next season of your life requires peace. It requires clarity. It requires spiritual alignment. And that means certain energies had to leave your life first. Chosen one. Stop mourning what walked away. If it truly belonged in your destiny, it would have stayed. Some departures are actually divine protection. And one day you will thank God for every closed door that once broke your heart. Because those closed doors saved your future. Right now, many of you are standing on the edge of the biggest transformation of your life. You cannot fully see it yet. But spiritually, things are already shifting behind the scenes. Conversations are happening in rooms you have never entered. Opportunities are forming without your knowledge. People are mentioning your name in places you never expected, and heaven is orchestrating everything perfectly. This is why your intuition has become stronger lately. This is why you feel emotionally disconnected from old environments. Your spirit already knows you are entering a new dimension of life. Chosen one. Hear me carefully. You are not falling apart. You are evolving, and evolution always feels uncomfortable before it becomes beautiful. The loneliness was necessary. The silence was necessary. The heartbreak was necessary, because all of it pushed you closer to your true purpose. If your old life had worked out, you would never have discovered your real power. If certain people had stayed, you would never have grown spiritually. If everything had happened according to your plans, you would still be living beneath your calling. Sometimes heaven destroys your comfort zone to reveal your destiny, and that is exactly what happened to you. Chosen one. Your reward is not small. Your blessing is not ordinary. What is coming into your life will make the struggle worth it. There is financial breakthrough attached to your future. There is emotional healing attached to your future. There is restoration attached to your future. There is recognition attached to your future. And there is a level of peace coming into your life that nobody will be able to take away from you again. For years, you survived chaos. Now heaven is preparing stability for you. For years, you carried emotional burdens alone. Now heaven is sending support. For years, you questioned your worth. Now heaven is about to place you in environments where your value will finally be recognized. Chosen one. You spent too much time shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable. Too much time doubting your gifts. Too much time apologizing for your light. But not anymore. This next chapter requires confidence. It requires boldness. It requires you to finally become who heaven created you to be. No more hiding. No more settling. No more begging for acceptance. The people assigned to your destiny will recognize your spirit naturally, and the opportunities meant for you will not require you to betray yourself. Remember this: anything that costs your peace is too expensive. Anything that forces you to abandon your soul is not from God. Your blessing will come with alignment, not confusion. Your breakthrough will come with peace, not chaos. Chosen one. The reason you survived everything that tried to destroy you is because your life carries divine purpose. There were moments you should have broken completely. Moments you should have lost your mind. Moments you should have quit, but somehow you kept going. That was not luck. That was divine covering over your life. You are still here for a reason, and that reason is bigger than your current pain. One day, people will hear your story and find hope through your survival. One day, the same wounds that almost destroyed you will become proof of your strength. One day, you will realize that everything happened to prepare you for the assignment attached to your soul. Chosen one. Your enemies thought isolation would weaken you, but isolation introduced you to your spiritual power. Your enemies thought heartbreak would destroy your faith, but heartbreak deepened your connection with God. Your enemies thought rejection would end your confidence, but rejection redirected you toward your real destiny. Everything they meant for harm, heaven transformed. Joseph was betrayed before reaching the palace. Even spiritually chosen people in history walked through suffering before stepping into purpose. So do not mistake your difficult season for abandonment. Sometimes heaven hides chosen people while preparing them. And when the time is right, they emerge transformed. That is exactly what is happening to you now. You are emerging stronger, wiser, more powerful spiritually, more connected to your purpose. And soon, even you will barely recognize the person you are becoming. Chosen one, your comeback will be deeply personal, because nobody truly understands everything you survived. People saw pieces of your pain, but they did not see the battles inside your mind. They did not see the silent nights. They did not see the moments you almost gave up completely, but heaven saw everything, and heaven never forgot your endurance. That is why your reward is coming, not because you are perfect, but because you remained faithful through pain. You kept going even when life made no sense. And that resilience carries spiritual power. Chosen one. This message found you at the perfect time, because many of you were about to lose hope. But hope is returning to your spirit now. Strength is returning to your spirit now. Clarity is returning to your spirit now. And from this moment forward, you must begin speaking differently about your future. No more speaking defeat. No more expecting disaster. No more assuming nothing good can happen for you. Your words carry energy, and your spirit needs agreement with the blessings coming toward your life. Start expecting miracles again. Start believing again. Start preparing emotionally for the opportunities approaching you, because your waiting season is ending. Chosen one. Imagine how powerful your testimony will become. The same person who once cried themselves to sleep will soon inspire others to keep believing. The same person who felt abandoned will soon stand in undeniable favor. The same person people overlooked will soon walk into rooms they once only dreamed about. And when that moment comes, stay humble. Remember the pain that shaped you. Remember the loneliness that strengthened you. Remember the prayers whispered through tears, because those moments built the foundation for your elevation. Chosen one, there is a version of you waiting on the other side of this transformation. A healed version, a peaceful version, a successful version, a spiritually aligned version. And every difficult experience you survived was guiding you toward that person. Nothing was wasted. Not the betrayal, not the heartbreak, not the delay, not the tears. All of it became part of your preparation. And now heaven is saying, congratulations, your wait is over. The doors are opening. The chains are breaking. The confusion is lifting. The answers are coming. The breakthrough is here. And the life you prayed for is finally beginning to move toward you. Chosen one, do not lose faith during these final moments of transition, because right before elevation, life often feels uncertain. Right before breakthrough, resistance becomes Intense. Right before the blessing arrives, doubt tries to attack your mind, but this is your sign to keep believing. Your story is not ending in struggle. Your story is changing direction. And years from now, you will look back at this season and realize it was the turning point that transformed your entire life forever. AB. Jahan se end ki hai, wahan se start. Crow Part 2K Lie smoothly continues Ho 8,000 words key, and Chosen One. As your new season begins to unfold, there is something important you must understand before the next chapter fully opens in your life. Not everyone around you is going to celebrate your elevation. Some people loved the broken version of you because it made them feel more comfortable with their own limitations. Some people preferred you struggling, doubting yourself, settling for less, because your light exposed the darkness inside them. But now your spirit is waking up in a completely different way. Now you are beginning to recognize your value. Now you are starting to see through fake love, hidden jealousy, and manipulative energy. And the moment a chosen one becomes spiritually aware, everything changes. Because awareness breaks chains. Awareness destroys illusions. Awareness frees the soul. That is why certain people have been acting differently toward you lately. You noticed the distance. You noticed the strange energy. You noticed how some people stopped supporting you the moment you started growing. And at first, it hurt, because you would have never abandoned them during their hardest moments. But, Chosen One, everybody cannot go with you into your next season. Some people were only assigned to a chapter, not the entire story. And one of the hardest spiritual lessons is learning how to release people without bitterness. Because holding on to expired connections blocks new blessings from entering your life. Right now, heaven is cleaning your environment, removing distractions, removing hidden enemies, removing emotional attachments that no longer align with your future. And yes, sometimes that process feels lonely. Sometimes it feels painful watching people fade away. But what leaves your life during a spiritual transition is usually what could not survive where heaven is taking you. Chosen One, stop begging people to understand your journey. Stop shrinking your vision to make others comfortable. Stop explaining your soul to people committed to misunderstanding you. Not everybody is meant to understand your assignment. Some people only recognize your value after your elevation becomes undeniable. And by then, it will be too late. Because the version of you that once tolerated disrespect is disappearing forever. You are becoming stronger emotionally, wiser spiritually, more selective with your energy. And that transformation is necessary for what is coming next. Because your next level requires boundaries. Your next level requires discernment. Your next level requires you to finally protect your peace instead of sacrificing it for temporary acceptance. Chosen One, there was a time when you ignored red flags because your heart was too pure. You kept giving second chances to people who kept hurting you. You kept trying to heal people who secretly enjoyed draining your spirit. You kept pouring love into places that only returned pain. But now your eyes are opening. Now you realize that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy. And that realization is saving your future, because some people were assignments sent to teach you self-respect. Some people entered your life to awaken your discernment. And although the lessons hurt, they transformed you. You no longer chase validation the way you once did. You no longer beg for attention. You no longer fear being alone. Because solitude taught you something powerful. It taught you how to hear your own soul again. Chosen One, your isolation season was not punishment. It was spiritual training. While you thought heaven abandoned you, heaven was separating you from noise, separating you from confusion, separating you from people whose opinions kept distracting you from your purpose. And in that silence, you started discovering who you truly are, not who people told you to be, not who trauma forced you to become, but who your spirit was always meant to be. That is why you feel different now. Your energy has changed. Your intuition has sharpened. Your tolerance for fake connections has disappeared. And your spirit is beginning to crave deeper alignment instead of surface-level attention. Chosen One, hear this carefully. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming discerning. There is a difference. Coldness closes the heart. Discernment protects the heart. And after everything you survived, your spirit deserves protection. Too many people benefited from your kindness while giving nothing back. Too many people used your loyalty while secretly disrespecting you. Too many people consumed your energy without appreciating your presence. But those days are ending now. The next chapter of your life will contain reciprocal energy, mutual respect, genuine support, real connections. Because heaven is no longer allowing one-sided relationships to survive around you. Chosen one, your soul is entering alignment, and alignment changes everything. Suddenly you stop forcing conversations, stop chasing people, stop trying to prove your worth. Because spiritually, you begin understanding that what belongs to you will naturally find you. Real love will not confuse you. Real friendship will not constantly drain you. Real opportunities will not require you to betray your soul. And the more aligned you become, the less attracted you feel to chaos. That old version of you that tolerated emotional inconsistency, gone. That version of you that accepted breadcrumbs while giving your whole heart, gone. That version of you that kept settling because you feared loneliness, gone forever. Chosen one, heaven is rebuilding your standards because your future requires stronger foundations. And although the transformation feels uncomfortable, it is preparing you for lasting blessings instead of temporary happiness. Because temporary happiness disappears quickly, but aligned peace changes your entire life. Right now, many of you are standing between two versions of yourself. The old version that lived in fear, and the new version that is slowly awakening to its power. And during this transition, confusion often appears. Some days you feel strong. Other days you feel emotionally exhausted. Some days you feel hopeful. Other days you question everything. But that does not mean you are failing. Transformation is messy before it becomes beautiful. A butterfly looks nothing like its former self during the process of becoming. And spiritually, neither do you. Chosen one, there are dreams inside you that never. You are finally realizing how expensive chaos truly is. How draining toxic energy becomes, how exhausting it is to constantly fight for love, respect, or understanding. And because of that realization, your spirit is becoming more selective. You would rather be alone than emotionally manipulated. You would rather wait for alignment than force connection. You would rather protect your soul than entertain confusion. That is maturity. That is healing. That is growth. Chosen one. The peace entering your life now is sacred. Protect it. Not everybody deserves access to your inner world anymore. Not everybody deserves your vulnerability. And that does not make you selfish. It makes you wise. Because people who survived emotional storms eventually learn the importance of protecting calm environments. And your future depends on maintaining spiritual peace. The next level of your life cannot be built in constant emotional chaos. Your purpose requires clarity. Your gifts require focus. Your spirit requires rest. That is why heaven is removing unnecessary distractions from your path right now, even when it hurts, even when you do not fully understand it. Everything happening is creating space for what truly belongs in your destiny. Chosen one. There are miracles happening behind the scenes that you cannot yet see. While you worry, heaven is working. While you overthink, doors are being prepared. While you question your future, divine timing is aligning circumstances in your favor. And suddenly, one day, everything changes. That opportunity arrives. That breakthrough appears. That healing enters your heart. And you realize heaven was never late. It was precise. Because if certain blessings had arrived earlier, they would have distracted you instead of elevating you. But now your spirit is ready. Now your mindset is changing. Now your soul understands the value of alignment, and because of that, the blessings approaching your life will carry deeper meaning than anything you lost before. Chosen. 1. The version of you rising now is powerful precisely because it was built through suffering. Anybody can smile when life is easy, But people who still carry faith after pain carry rare spiritual strength, and that strength is about to open doors no human being can close. So keep going, keep believing, keep preparing your spirit for elevation. Because your story is far from over. In fact, it is finally beginner. Chosen one, there is something happening in your life right now that you cannot fully explain. A strange feeling, a quiet shift inside your spirit, almost like your soul knows something before your eyes can see it. And that feeling is not imaginary, because the moment heaven prepares to elevate a chosen soul, everything around them begins changing internally before it changes externally. That is why your old life suddenly feels uncomfortable. That is why certain conversations drain you now. That is why your spirit no longer connects with places, habits, and people that once felt familiar. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding the version of yourself that was never meant to follow you into your next season. And chosen one, this part of the transformation is often the loneliest, because people celebrate your success after it happens. But very few understand the emotional death that happens before elevation. Very few understand what it feels like to outgrow an entire version of your life. Very few understand how painful it is to become spiritually awakened in a world addicted to distraction. And for many of you listening right now, that awakening has already started. You cannot pretend anymore. You cannot keep ignoring your intuition. You cannot continue shrinking yourself just to fit into spaces that no longer align with your soul. Your spirit is demanding growth now, demanding truth, demanding freedom. And although the process feels heavy, it is leading you somewhere beautiful. Chosen one, do you know why so many people misunderstood you? Because they were trying to understand you from their level of awareness. People who have never fought spiritual battles cannot understand your sensitivity. People who have never carried deep emotional wounds cannot understand your silence. People who abandoned themselves long ago cannot understand why authenticity matters so much to you. So stop expecting validation from people who cannot even recognize their own souls. You were never meant to be understood by everybody. You were meant to awaken something inside the people who were spiritually ready to recognize your light. And yes, that kind of energy attracts resistance, because your presence forces masks to fall. Your energy exposes hidden intentions. Your spirit naturally reveals truth. That is why fake people became uncomfortable around you. That is why manipulators eventually showed their real faces. That is why certain connections suddenly collapsed without explanation. It was not random. Your spirit outgrew what was misaligned. Chosen one, some endings are actually answers to prayers you forgot you prayed. You once begged heaven for peace, for clarity, for genuine love, for alignment, but when heaven started removing what was blocking those blessings, it felt painful instead of beautiful. Because humans often mourn what heaven is trying to replace. You cried over doors that were protecting your future by staying closed. You chased people who were never assigned to your destiny. You held on to environments that were suffocating your growth. But now you are beginning to see differently. Now you understand why certain relationships had to end. Now you understand why some opportunities disappeared. Now you understand why isolation became necessary, because your spirit was being prepared for a completely different life. Chosen one, hear this carefully. The next chapter of your life requires emotional discipline, because not every blessing will arrive looking dramatic. Some blessings arrive quietly, in the form of peace, in the form of clarity, in the form of no longer feeling emotionally exhausted every day. And many chosen ones overlook these blessings because they became addicted to chaos without realizing it. You spent so much time surviving emotional storms that calmness started feeling unfamiliar. But calmness is not boredom. Peace is not emptiness. Healthy love is not confusion. And your soul is finally learning the difference. Chosen one. There was a time when you confused intensity with connection. You thought emotional chaos meant passion. You thought inconsistency meant excitement. You thought constantly chasing love meant loyalty. But those lessons exhausted your spirit, because real alignment does not require suffering to survive. And now heaven is teaching you how to stop abandoning yourself just to keep other people comfortable. That lesson alone is changing your entire future, because every time you betrayed your intuition, you suffered. Every time you ignored red flags, you suffered. Every time you settled for less than your spirit deserved, you suffered. Not because you were weak, but because your soul was trying to warn you. And now your intuition is becoming louder. You can feel energy differently. You can sense dishonesty faster. You can recognize misalignment before it fully destroys your peace. That is spiritual growth. Chosen one. Stop apologizing for protecting your energy. You earned that protection through pain. People who never had to rebuild themselves emotionally will not understand why boundaries matter so much to you now. But you know what emotional destruction feels like. You know what it feels like to lose yourself trying to save everybody else. And because of that, your spirit can no longer survive in one-sided situations. The next season of your life requires balance, mutual effort, reciprocal love, and people who cannot respect your boundaries will naturally remove themselves from your path. Let them. Not every departure deserves grief. Some departures deserve gratitude. Chosen one. There is someone listening right now who secretly feels guilty for changing. You miss the old version of yourself sometimes. The version that trusted easily, the version that loved without fear, the version that believed people's words without questioning intentions. But listen carefully. You did not lose your softness. You gained wisdom. There is a difference. Pain did not destroy your heart. It taught your heart discernment, and discernment is necessary for your destiny. Because where you are going, your energy matters too much to keep giving it away carelessly. Chosen one, your future is too important to remain emotionally attached to your past. You cannot keep reliving old pain while expecting new blessings. At some point, healing requires release. Not because the pain was small, but because your destiny is bigger than your wounds. And yes, healing takes time. Some scars stay sensitive longer than others. Some betrayals leave deeper marks. Some losses change you forever. But chosen one, even broken hearts can bloom again. Even exhausted souls can rediscover hope again. Even people who once felt completely lost can find purpose again. And that is exactly what is happening to you. Purpose is calling your spirit louder than pain. Now, growth is calling your spirit louder than fear now. And slowly, you are beginning to realize that your life still contains beautiful chapters ahead. Chosen one, the enemy tried to convince you that your best days were behind you. After the heartbreak, after the betrayal, after the disappointment, it whispered that you would never fully recover, never fully trust again, never fully become happy again. But that was a lie. Your story did not end in those painful seasons. Those seasons were classrooms, not destinations. They taught you lessons your soul needed for the next chapter. And now heaven is showing you what happens when a wounded person refuses to quit. They evolve into someone spiritually unstoppable. Chosen one,